Why does concept in art matter so much? You might have seen recently a new David Shrigley artwork has been released, which is a pile of discarded rope in a fancy Mayfair gallery down in London with a hefty £1 million price tag on it. And this will have stirred up all the usual media hubbub about the value of art, conceptual, contemporary art, and what it's all about and what's the worth of it all. So I wanted to come on here and talk to you about the value of concept in your creative practice. Hi, my name is Tracey Eastham. I am an artist and I'm also the founder of Art School by Subscription. Here on my YouTube channel, we cover lots of topics around concept and experimentation and what those two things can do for your art practice. So if you like what you see, hit the subscribe and the like button and let's dive in. So David Shrigley's new artwork is 10 tons of discarded old rope that he has spent several months scouring the country for, going to lots of different places like shipyards and climbing schools, and collected all this rope, had it meticulously cleaned and then presented in heaps on the floor in a gallery. And yes, you might look at the artwork and think, well, there's no skill there. Where's the artistic skill? And what about process? And anyone could do that. And whilst I'd agree that that's an understandable point of view, I find the artwork very rich in concept. So the artist himself hasn't been very prescriptive about the concept or the meaning of the piece. He has presented it with a title and a price tag. Those are the two things which have garnered the most attention. But there's lots of ways that we could read into that artwork. One such way that we could read into it, for example, is the fact that most of the rope material is made out of polyester material, which is notoriously hard to, if not impossible, to recycle. And we have a massive discarded heap of this, 10 tons, which would have ended up in landfill. Most of the rope would have been from shipyards or places like that, so has the conceptual connection with shipping nets. And we all know that polyester, plastic, netting and rope contributes hugely to the really terrible ocean pollution situation that we have. So immediately we have that narrative, we have that concept which can help us to read the artwork. We also have the sly critique of the art industry itself, the fact that he's sort of assigned a fairly arbitrary price tag and very hefty price tag to this artwork because he knows it's going to generate a lot of attention. People are going to question, yeah, but what is the value of art? He's hosted it in a very prestigious fancy gallery down in London. So there's a little jab at the art industry and the often arbitrary nature in which we ascribe value to artwork. For me, it hints at what I see as the transformative power of art to take a familiar and ordinary object or scene and completely transform it into something extraordinary. So discarded rope in any other context is worthless, it's a hindrance, it's rubbish, it's discarded, it's unwanted, yet has somehow been transformed simply by being collated together into a different fine art context. And artists have been doing this for a long time. If you think back to early Cubist still life experiments, they would literally be doing the same thing, collecting discarded, used materials, bringing it together in a collective assemblage and making art from it. So there's quite a long history now of taking random objects, ready-made objects perhaps, and pointing to the transformative potential of art to completely change the way we look at that object or the way what it means to us and what it can signify. In my art school, I deliver a monthly lecture and I also deliver lessons on strategies The last lecture we did was on the Dada art movement, and I've also recently led a class on collage strategies. And when I looked at the artwork, I admit I was thinking about Dada and I was thinking about collage. So the Dada artists were really responding to the world around them, the wider context around them. They were responding to what they saw as the absurd march towards war, by creating absurd and rather dangerous artworks using very risky and experimental creative strategies. With collage, we collect the bombardment of images and printed material that surround us in society. We cut it up, we represent it back to the audience in a different context, in a different format. Collage is one of the most widely used and loved creative strategies in the 20th, 21st century. It's massively influential in craft and art, design and film, in fashion. And when I looked at the David Shrigley artwork, I actually saw a bit of collage there. Maybe possibly assemblage, which is like a form of collage. It's like a sort of three-dimensional collage. He's going about and he's sourcing objects from different contexts, and then he's assembling them all together in a sort of three-dimensional collage. So when I looked at the artwork, I was thinking about those Dada ideologies, about responding to the absurdity in the world around us. And I was also thinking about collage strategies, which is about assembling different contexts together and playing with the assigned meanings that those have. So whether or not you think David Shrigley's artwork is good, whether or not you like conceptual art or not, I think what I want to call into attention is that concept is a driver of so much creative practice. It drives the invention of new artwork. As an artist, you've probably had this experience before. You'll be out driving, looking out the window, absent-mindedly, and perhaps you'll just see something, a little scene, an object, could even be a little colour, and it just sparks something in your head. What that's doing is it's sparking an idea in your head. It's sparking a concept, and you might continue to ruminate on that concept, and you might start to collect some source materials and take some photographs and do some little sketches. And then it takes you to your studio space where you make artwork. Your artwork has been driven by that concept, that flash of inspiration that you saw. I know for a fact that we will have all had that experience. And it's not a new thing either. Going back to when art was made for religious purposes almost exclusively, the church would commission art. Very powerful people would commission portraits. They all had a driving concept which drove the development of that work. They were trying to propagate a certain ideology or an idea or a concept of themselves. It could have been about status or class or power or hierarchy. But essentially all those historical artworks that adorn museums throughout the world, yes, the vehicle was skill-based in terms of painting and drawing skills, but the driving force was concept, was ideas. Not only that, but as viewers of art, even if we don't make artwork ourselves, if we just love to look at art, even if the artwork is a process-based artwork, the artist hasn't been promoting a particular idea or concept. In viewing the artwork, we take concept from it. We can't help but look at an image and get some sort of conceptual meaning from it. The word concept literally means idea. We can't look at any image without it triggering some sort of emotion, triggering some sort of feeling or a memory or a physiological response. Those are all ideas of something. So in viewing art, we take concept from it. So in making art, concept is important, and in viewing art, concept is important. So you might be watching this and thinking, yes, okay, but I'm really not interested in concept. I am driven by process. I am driven by the qualities of materials. I am driven by the way that paint is applied to canvas. I am driven by the feeling of clay in my hands. You might be fascinated about getting a particular visual effect with particular materials, and you might say, okay, yeah, but I'm process driven. I'm driven by the need to master my art in a particular way. In this little talk, I'm not saying that that is less important than concept. I am not saying that process is less important than concept. But what I am saying is that even in that instance, when you show your work, your audiences will be taking concept with it. And in playing with your material, in mastering that material, you're still engaging with concept a little bit. The idea of mastery, the idea of skill, the idea of intention and purpose, those are all concepts, essentially. And your audience member are going to be looking at these images, and even if they're completely abstract or non-representational, they're going to be looking at them and saying, oh, that reminds me of this, or it makes me think of that, or I feel this when I look at it. And those are all ideas as well. Those are all concepts, responses to the image. Whether you like the David Shrigley artwork or not, whether you like conceptual art or not, what I want this talk to encourage in you is to engage with concept, embrace it into your creative practice, and a reminder as well that there is no right or wrong concept when it comes to artwork. When we go and visit a piece, yes, the artist might have had an intention. They might have wanted you to think or feel something, but that is not the only way that you can interpret an artwork. We can bring our own personal experiences to an artwork and interpret it in lots of different ways. And this is a good thing. If you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, that's interesting, but I don't know whether I'm a process-led artist or a conceptually led artist, then have a look down in the comment. I've posted a link to a quiz I've made, which I'm hoping will give you some insights about whether you're driven more by concept or by process. That should be quite interesting. And please do let me know down below in the comments, what did you think about the David Shrigley artwork? If you haven't seen it yet, have a little look and let me know what you think. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos.